Hello and welcome back to the JW Thoughts channel. My name is Wally, and today we're doing podcast style Wally, not in the normal space because I am baking a little bit of memorial bread in preparation for the annual JW Thoughts memorial skit thing that I try and do every year. And God forbid I ever overcook or undercook or miscook God's holy Jesus body skin things. Anyway, it's really tedious and I'm trying to do a bunch of it for the skit I have in mind. So I thought I would just record down here to make it easier. Anyway, with all of that being said, the thing I wanted to talk about today was kind of twofold. So first off, I've noticed more and more people that are newer to the channel that maybe don't know some of my history in the organization, maybe some of the reasons why I left or sort of that whole story. And then transitioning into something that I've been thinking a lot about lately, and that is why ZZ is... ZZ, just don't eat things. It's not that hard. Anyway, sort of like, what's the cost of being someone that's outspoken against the organization, and what effects does that have on your family that's still in the organization? So anyway, I wanted to cover those topics. If you enjoy podcast style Wally, let me know down in the comments. If it tanks and no one likes it, I'll not do it. I know I do it every so often, but if you guys want to see more of videos like this of me just yapping for a while, then we can do that. But with all that being said, let's do this. Probably not even going to add the intro, so whatever. Anyway, so first off, a lot of people ask, like, how did you leave or why did you leave, blah, blah, blah. And I know I've posted about it before on YouTube, so I'll just kind of give like a brief, tiny synopsis. I had recently gotten married as a Jehovah's Witness. I met my wife at the International Convention. And everything was cool. She was great. We were great. Just, yeah, totally awesome. And then she ended up breaking her leg and was in the hospital and just a couple of surgeries. And it was went from just, being a regular, like, single guy that works and goes to the gym and plays basketball and soccer to then being a husband, which was a totally new experience. As a witness, you don't get to live with someone at all before you marry them. So you're just like thrust into this world. And then being a caretaker. And then you have all the congregation responsibilities. And my golly gee willikers, it was such a weight that just constantly fed every negative emotion you have. So when you have that much pressure, for some stupid reason, all of your intrusive, depressing, negative thoughts sort of rise to the top. Like, the worse something is, I feel like sometimes the harder it is to find joy in anything. And it was so difficult and so much pressure that one time I was doing the last part at a meeting, and they were singing that stupid Listen, Obey, and Be Blessed song. And I just looked up from my songbook, and I looked out, and I was like, all of these people are zombies. And I stopped and thought for a second, like, wait, if I was in the audience, I would think I was a zombie. Wait a second. Am I a zombie? ZZ, please don't be eating plastic. What are you doing? I hear you. So anyway, I went home, and as a natural response to that sort of mental break, the training I had received my entire life taught me that if anything goes wrong, you need to be the best version of a Jehovah's Witness that you possibly can be. And so that's what I did. I picked up the Bible and said, okay, we're going to understand this thing. We're really going to dig in. And nothing made sense. And so a whole slew of events happened because this happened within months of being married. And I was just like in shambles. Absolute lowest point I've ever been at, I imagine, I think, at any point in my life. And just trying to figure out, okay, how do I wake this person up that has moved across the globe to marry me and be with me under the guise that we were this turbo ultra spiritual couple that were going to be circuit overseers or missionaries one day. Like, that was always in the cards. That was always the plan. It was never like kids and stuff like that. It was like, no, we want to do as much as we can for the organization. So like, How do you wake up the most indoctrinated person? And she was, like, legitimately, she was as indoctrinated as I was. Like, when you think, you close your eyes and you say to yourself, that person will never leave the organization. She was that person. And to be fair, most people thought I was that person as well. So through various means and stuff, I was able to actually successfully get her out, and so that was great. And so anyway, I see sometimes people comment like, "Oh, I didn't know you had a wife." We split up after that because one of the main reasons we were together was because of our Jehovah's Witness stuff. So she moved back to her country, and I stayed here, and yeah, so that's kind of how that went. But something that happened though, which was interesting, is I spent so much time like with her and trying to wake her up that I never really got a good opportunity. And I don't know if I would have anyway, because my family is so stubborn and annoying that I never really got to try any of the sort of tactics that I had cooked up in my noodle to wake my family up. And they never really gave me an opportunity, unfortunately. But one of the times that I was talking to them, hi Zizi, hi buddy. I just remember it was the last words that I ever spoke to my mom, or that she ever actually responded to me, I should say. And I told her, one day you're going to be so proud of me. And she had the most confused look. It was just like, what do you mean? You're telling me that you're leaving the organization, you're not going to be a Jehovah's Witness, and you think that I'm going to be proud of you? And I'm like, yeah, one day you will be so proud of me knowing what I went through and what I accomplished despite all of the negativity that you've brought into my life, and how you're just abjectly casting me out, leaving me in the lurches. Oh, it's my bread that's crackling. And I don't think it really sunk in, probably still hasn't, but it's an interesting thing to say, and maybe it was a little bit troll, but I genuinely think, and I've always said this, that the Watchtower is basically going to be unrecognizable in 20 years. Like, I think that is maximum. I think my timeline was way too generous, because with all of the changes, because I started this YouTube channel, I think in 2020, somewhere abouts there. 2020, 2021. And I kind of was saying that then. Now that they've hit the turbo Mario Kart speed boost on everything, I could very well see things being unrecognizable, or even the organization fundamentally splitting into different factions in the next 10 years. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see sort of how everything unfolds as far as that goes. But with all of the changes and everything, I wonder what effect it has on those people that are the most, or were the most loyal, the most serious. Because it could go one of two ways, right? On one hand, you could have someone that is so loyal, they'll do anything for the organization. And it doesn't matter. It's like whatever they put in their little cup of soup, they're so grateful. Thank you. Even if it's just a bunch of turds and piss, they're like, oh, thank you so much, governing body, for the turds and piss. That's one subset. And then there's others that are like, wait, we've always had chicken noodle soup, and now you're feeding us something different, something foreign, and it won't feel right. And that's where the cognitive dissonance starts to play its ugly little game of chess inside someone's head. And I don't know where they fall on that spectrum, but one thing that I can't stop thinking about, and it popped into my head probably a couple of months ago, and with the recent changes that they've made with disfellowshipping and going a tiny little step easier, inviting people to meetings, talking to them if they come to a meeting a little bit, brief conversation, but not apostates. Really dividing that line of apostates. Now, the point of what I'm trying to say is, What is the cost then of being someone that is openly and publicly critical of the organization? Because there is a pride element that will happen with with our family members that are still believing Jehovah's Witnesses, that know we are the apostates that they're talking about. There is a level of pride that will keep them in solely based on my actions. I can imagine a scenario where maybe some members of my family woke up, but because their ego is on the line, because I challenged them and they stood so resolutely on the side of the Watchtower clowns and they cast me aside, does that keep them in? Does their pride and ego prevent them from seeing how ridiculous this organization is getting? People are going, just think about this when I talk about ridiculous. Last year I went to the memorial with the people I was studying with, and I asked a bunch of troll questions like why the women don't wear pants, why do none of the men have beards, does everyone have to wear a tie, why don't men have earrings, well, there's just a bunch of different stuff like that. Now I could go to the memorial again and all of those things would be different. Like from a visual outsider's perspective, if you just took a snapshot of what the memorial looks like just 1 year ago, it is quite literally, you wouldn't think it's a Jehovah's Witness event anymore. That's how fundamentally different that it looks. So much has changed that it makes them look like absolute buffoons. And with this monumental shift that's been happening within the organization, I highly doubt that there is a single person out there that on some level won't begin to question the validity of it all. I find it really disturbing to believe that someone, at least even if they're not fully aware, or they don't fully embrace it, or they never talk about it, but it's having gone through the experience that I have with literally waking someone up that was the prototypical person we're talking about, the person that's never going to leave the organization, and having successfully woken them from their indoctrination, I am certain that everyone on some level has doubts that they ask, especially when you have these changes. So what then is the cost of me being public? Is that going to prevent them from ever waking up? And I'm not really sure. Let me know down if anyone's still watching this, because it's just me rambling. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, because it's a question that fascinates me. I hope you can still hear me, but I gotta go check my bread. But I just wonder how deep that ego trip has to go before someone is willing to admit, you know what? I think Wally might have been right all along. And that's going to be so hard after having vehemently shouted me down, telling me that I had been infected by Satan, the devil himself. Going that far. I mean, I had my parents sitting or standing there talking to me saying, we know that you have been infected by the worst thing to ever spawn in this video game called life. And then for them to come back and say, hey, you were actually right. Sorry. Is that even possible at this point? Especially because, I've talked about my family to some extent. At least people within this area that I live in Washington. I have a very well-known family. Everyone knows the Barnetts. So what if and then everyone knows Wally is the apostate? Then how difficult is it or how big of a hurdle is it for them to overcome that that embarrassment of, wow, he was actually right all along. And I don't know the answer to it. And then the other question, well, is it worth it? Well, for me personally, I would rather help people that are supportive, that are kind, that have become my community, my little ex-Jehovah's Witness family that we have. I would much rather spend time helping all of you guys in any meaningful way, or giving you a laugh, or putting a smile on your face, I think, than trying to placate the... I didn't close the oven. Now, one last thing I wanted to just talk about, because I booted up ye old social media and saw that a lot of people were commenting and posting screenshots of conversations that they were having with their family, because A, it's the memorial time, and that's when everyone reaches out to you, hey, are you going to come to the memorial? And B, with their new light on, you can maybe talk to some of your family members or invite them to meetings or the memorial, what have you. I think more people than I have ever seen have been posting that they've been having interactions with some of their family. So I guess, first off, how people respond and the delicacy and the love and the kindness that all of you guys show in replying to people is absolutely beautiful. I commend you, grade A, S tier. You guys are doing a bang up job. I know, like, for me, I'm a little bit more crass and indifferent sometimes. Not that they ever would, but if my family asked me to come to the memorial, I'd just be like, okay, well, how about you can eat my butt? Like, I just, yeah, I wouldn't be having any of it. But the way that you guys approach it is definitely the way to do it, with that care and the reminders that I was getting an overwhelming sense of, I still care about you as a person. I left the organization. I didn't leave you. You left me and stayed in the organization. So this is a situation where you decided to leave. I'm not the one that left. I left the organization, not the family, not my friend group. All of that love and connection over years and decades that we have, that still exists. But you're the one that's choosing to end it. And I think that is a very healthy approach, and it's going to maybe help, like, maybe draw someone, or at least have them be willing to interact. And I think that's important, if people see ex-witnesses not as evil apostates, but for the majority of just being happy people living their life. I genuinely think that that is the best way that people's family is going to wake up. Yeah, which I guess goes back to my other point. Maybe my family will never wake up because of that exact same thing. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But anyway, I just wanted to say, like, I know it can be really difficult and hard, but just remember to prioritize your own health and your personal mental state, because at the end of the day, someone that cast you aside like garbage, you don't really owe them a whole lot. It's not like someone slaps you in the face and you give them a box of chocolates. Someone slaps you in the face, you might just want to turn around and walk away. So I know that's not exactly, but the damage and harm that has caused, or that people have caused within their family because they choose to stick to the organization more than their own family, is so despicable that I don't think anyone's going to say, oh, you're a bad person. I know there are people that say, well, it's the organization that does the harm. It's not really the people in it. Yes, that's true, and I get that. But we are still talking about people, and we are still talking about the organization themselves say, oh, well, normal family relations still continue. They argue it in courts, and they say it to the media. So if they're willing to go ahead and say that, then why is there a difference in how actual families are being treated? I would use that against them. Like, why would you shun me when you say they don't shun? Like, one of you guys is lying, or you're just a really terrible parent or brother or friend or sister. whatever it is. So just remember to prioritize your own personal, like, mental happiness. I am going to get on with my memorial skit. Sorry for such a scuffed video, but for all 3,000 people that watched it, thank you. I appreciate you listening to me yapping. Don't forget to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. It literally keeps the channel alive. It might not mean a lot, just a little click, but it means everything for the growth of the channel and for it sticking around here on YouTube. So with all that being said, stay safe, be kind, and show yourself the same kindness that you show to others. And I'm about to do a memorial skit, so either tomorrow or... No, I'll probably release it on Sunday. On Sunday, I can guarantee you're going to have a good-ass day.